Hello everyone and welcome to the In My World podcast. Today we have on Lloyd Evans, who's a GP and owner of the Man Clinic. Welcome to the show today.
Yeah, thank you very much.
How are you going? And to get started, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I'm Lloyd. I'm 35 years old. I'm a Welshman. Let me list them off. I'm a father, a brother, son, mate. I'm a GP, doctor, podcaster, and owner of Man Health Clinic, which is a men's health clinic based in Perth, in around about Nedlands, in Hollywood Medical Centre. I moved over from Cardiff, Wales, about 3 years ago with my young family. Yeah. And here I am delving into the world of men's health, which is my passion and what I want to be doing for the next 30, 40, 50 years. Who knows? We'll see.
So you like helping people?
Yeah, I try.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about why you got into being a doctor, why it's important to you, especially men?
Yeah, good question. It feels like my medical school interview. That's the first question they ask. So why do you want to be a doctor? And there's never a right answer. For me, honestly, it's the passion for the human body, actually. The caring aspect, clearly, you've got to be a caring person. You've got to have empathy, sympathy. But for me, it was purely science-based. Love the human body, love anatomy, physiology, and how the body works. And I just felt, what better profession to go into than knowing yourself as much as you can. And that's something I think is quite nice and unique, you know your body.
So you're not one of those doctors that's trying to preserve your life to like 150.
I know there's a few out there, Peter Attia and your Huberman, and don't get me wrong, I get asked a lot, especially there's a lot of guys that want that longevity and that sort of optimizing your health. Listen, it's a part of my clinic. I don't claim to be the guru when it comes to longevity, but absolutely, look, if you went on theories, I'm a middle-aged man now. If you look at genetics, and,
so he's actually 60. Everyone, he's managed to make himself look like he's in his 30s.
And this is all natural.
Yeah, well, that bit is true. Yeah, let nature do its thing. So that's me.
No, perfect.
So Lloyd, we're going to be bouncing around in your story a little bit, which will be awesome. And we're going to talk a little bit more about Lloyd's clinic in another interview. So we're going to be bouncing around Lloyd the man.
Yeah, Lloyd
but
the person.
Talking a little bit about also a part of what you do in that as well. But we've got the three discoveries which I've written down. Is first one is learn to withstand, not recover. Second is fill your copybook of life. And the third one is 10% of life is what happens to you and 90% of it is how you deal with it or react. So tell us a bit about learn to withstand, not recover.
Yeah, so I have, over the last couple of years, people have said, God, you've really crammed a lot into your life, haven't you? You're 35, but crikey, you've lived in 2 countries, you've got 3 children. The oldest is 17. We had him at 18, if you did the maths.
Yes.
We were, me and my wife were young parents. We're still happily married. We've only been married a few years. She wanted to get married a lot earlier, I'll be honest. But look, it wasn't the right time for me, maybe. But so we're happily married. We've got 3 children. And a lot of people have said, crikey, you've really overcome quite a bit of challenge. Your life is not, like you've said in previous podcasts, Steve, it's not tied up nicely in this bow. Yeah. It's a bit all over the place. Wow, how have you done it and how have you dealt with those challenges? So there's probably 2 big chapters in my life where where people have said, look, you're pretty resilient then. How have you got over those challenges? And resilience is such a big word. And
so when you're talking about that, what would you say is like those big challenges for you personally?
So being a teenage father, finding out at 17 that I was going to become a dad very shortly. I had a career at 17. I was a soccer player. I was with Cardiff City Football Club, Premier League football club in their time. That was my career. That actually stopped very abruptly at the age of 18, the same week that I had my son, actually. So you can imagine I'm going on one path. Yeah. Suddenly my life changed. At the same time, I was doing my ATAR equivalent exams.
Yes.
My life that week was mad. So there's one chapter.
Yeah.
I've also got a daughter who's 8 who's got a very rare genetic condition. So she's cognitively probably 2 years old. Very challenging, touch and go during her first 6 months in terms of, she was in intensive care. She had various operations. That was a time in my life where things were meant to be so happy and great, and actually it was the hardest 6 months of my life, and that was a challenge. And other chapters, moving to the other side of the world, creating a business, and people say, wow, these are challenges that you've overcome. How have you done it? And I think my answer has always been the mindset of, you don't have to recover from this. Recovering would imply that, look, something's gone in the wrong direction. And I've always tried to think, no, it's not about recovering, just withstand, just hold your ground, run with it, and redirect, not change direction in the other direction completely, just redirection. I guess another way of looking at it is, no direction is the wrong direction. It's just a redirection. And that's where this sort of withstanding comes in. I think we've all got our sayings, we've all got our mottos and mantras. It ticks the boxes for me. It may not with you guys, and it may not for other people.
Yeah, of course.
But this is what this podcast's about, right?
Yeah, that absolutely.
Find that little nugget.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, absorbing, I totally agree, recover. What does that look like? That's an interesting concept, isn't it? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Because all of us have things come our way that we did not expect or plan or didn't think would happen to us.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And there's no ideal book. There's no ideal family.
Yeah.
All of those things that we see on TV are often rubbish.
Yes, absolutely. and it's so important to realise that on the surface, everything can look great, but everyone's got their story. Everyone's got that something going on in the background. And I've been introduced in the past as the guy who turned his life around, and I've had to look. I've often double took and thought, I've never felt like I've had to turn my life around. I've just, why?
That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just
That's that because you had a child at a young age?
Maybe teenage parenthood, or going in one direction, and then your life suddenly, being told you're going to be a footballer for the rest of your life, a soccer player, and then suddenly being dropped, which happens to so many young men, especially in the UK, and that is technically perceived as turning your life around, and it's not. It's if you've got to run with it, and you've got to then redirect and withstand that.
And so what did having a child at a young age and getting dropped by your football club, what did that teach you about responsibility, and has that in some way influenced where you are now?
Absolutely. I call it the week that changed everything, and absolutely. And I was sitting exams and had to do well at those. And then I suddenly became this father whose responsibility was for somebody else at a time in my life where I was still trying to find my own path, as an 18-year-old. So I guess I grew up very quickly and had to withstand. It was.
Would it be fair to say you became a man at that point straight away, and you just jettisoned out of the adolescent huge period?
I think so. I maybe didn't realize it at the time.
Yeah.
And people say, God, you're resilient at that time. You don't know it. You don't
survive.
Feel resilient. You survive. And you just get through it. And I know it's easy to say that, but and people around me were such a big help and influence. And I had some great mentors and people who just watched my back, parents, in-laws, siblings. But did I become a man then? Yes. And how did I get through it? I just think this realization that I've just run with it and withstand. Don't think about changing your life. And this is just run with it. Just redirect.
Yeah, it's good.
Wow. So it sounds like there's a lot that's happened in the last 17 years.
17 years, yeah.
That brings us to our next question, which is fill your copybook of life, the next discovery. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so this is probably the next big chapter in my life. I did a lot in those 8 years following my son's birth, but this is where Gloria comes along. So Gloria was born in 2015. She's got a very rare genetic disorder. She's missing a part of her X chromosome. And I won't go into too much more detail, but it's the realization for me that she is somebody who's going to be reliant on me for the rest of my life and the rest of her life. I've got 2 sons. They're both probably going to be cool. They're going to be good. They're going to be fine. They're going to leave the house at some point. Gloria's not. It's that realization that she is solely reliant on me and her mum now for the rest of her life, and that's the reality. And I'm a carer. So bear with me. Give me about 1 minute, and I'll explain it.
Yeah, that's good.
Filling my copybook of life. So I've had to give talks over a few years, various positions, and one talk about a couple of months ago, I was preparing for this talk whilst Gloria was falling asleep next to me, and it's this innocent 8-year-old girl who can't speak, but it also got me thinking, God, this young girl I have no idea if she can feel emotion, if she can love, if she can feel negativity, positivity, pain, hurt, grief, and all these other humor, happiness, pleasure, all these other things. I have no idea. She is the most amazing, resilient, brave girl, but that's my perception. I don't know what she's thinking, and that made me a bit upset. But it got me thinking, crikey, how fortunate am I as a guy who is able to feel and have emotions, regardless of positive, negative, hard, challenging, good, bad. I've just got to run with the fact that I've just got to feel the feels and really remember that there are people in this world who don't have those. And I look at my daughter and think how potentially upsetting it is to think she may not have all these emotions of loves and highs and lows and humor. She might. But it just got me thinking, well, how am I going to define my fulfillment with life? And it's actually just thinking, I want to fill my copybook of life with as many feelings and emotions as possible, whether they're bad or good. Just think, I'm filling it. And not experiences, not rewards and titles and Instagram posts and images. Actually, just let's define my life by the ability to feel and experience as many emotions as possible, because there are people in this world that can't. And if you can just get that mindset, it might just help you through those tough times. Again, that's my take, and I don't know if it makes sense to you guys.
No, it makes sense.
I think I hear what you're saying in that. Not that I know your story, but feeling, when you can articulate your feeling, it is an amazing thing, and it's a blessing. But what's not good is when you feel like crap.
I understand.
And
that.
you feel that.
Yes. Yeah.
That is hard, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Especially when you're trying to support other people who are feeling like crap.
Yes.
That is hard.
Yeah. And listen, nobody wants to feel bad. Look, if all our feelings and emotions could be positive, brilliant. But we know life's not like that. So at least I guess my take is, if you're feeling the negative, hard, challenging emotions, try and just run with it and think, look, this is life.
Yeah.
I'm filling my life with this emotion. Hey, I'm fulfilling my life. I'm adding more to my life. Yes, this is not a good emotion right now, but at least I'm experiencing it, because there are people out there who may not ever experience this bad, negative feeling. And I know that sounds really odd. You think, well, why do you want to feel a bad feeling? But we're all going to get them. So at least take it as okay, it's another feeling to add to my copybook of life. Yeah. But I totally agree, Steve. You don't want those negative ones all the time, and this is why.
It's there, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, you can't get away from that.
No, you can't.
Well, one thing I realize is a lot of young people don't actually know how to articulate what emotion they're feeling. They don't know how to actually relate to that emotion. They just feel it, and it comes up through their body, and it may come out through different ways, like anger or just ways that they can't express. And I think that's a big issue, especially for young men, is not being able to actually define what emotion they're feeling, because they're unable to talk about it, unable to express it. Is that something you see in your practice?
Oh, absolutely. And it's something I recognize as a doctor, that men have to have their health and mental health approached differently to women. There's no getting away from that. We are not great at talking. We're not great at articulating feelings. And as you say, that can come out as all sorts of behaviors, and often negative. Toxic masculinity has been talked about, and all these other things. So I agree. And trying to, I guess, change a mindset is so hard. But this is what I'm trying to say, I guess, that having this mantra and trying to turn a negative feeling into a a feeling that is more accepting to you by thinking this way. With this is okay, I'm just filling my copybook, just run with it.
Can I just ask, when you're experience these intense feelings of disappointment, sadness, fear, anger, what does Lloyd do? How do you have a self-care plan? How do you survive that?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's only in hindsight that you probably realize how you do it. For me, routine, I think you've talked about it before, Steve, saying routine is your friend. And absolutely, for me, getting into a routine is so helpful. I think this is my doctor head now coming in, but having that, going right back to basics and thinking, right, I'm just going to really simplify this. Let me just eat something good, or let me just do 10 minutes exercise, or let me just get an extra hour's sleep. Let me just really force myself to go to bed that little bit earlier. So when I'm waking up tomorrow, I've got that extra hour inside me and I've got a slightly more positive outlook. So for me, this is where the physical and mental health is so important, that they're not different. And for me, if there's times where from a mental health point of view, I'm feeling it and I'm struggling, I think, okay, well, let me focus on the positive, on the physical health, because I know they're so closely intertwined. Exercise, sleep, a good diet, nutrition. And this is where the whole man approach to Man Health Clinic comes in. You know, I know that it's not just about mental health. It's not just physical health. It's the whole man. So that's for me. I think practical tips: sleep, eat, exercise. Focus on those, and the mental health side of things will hopefully start falling into place, and vice versa.
So what emotions have you been feeling over the last week that you've been putting into your copybook?
Yeah, so I think that's a great question.
Give us one.
Right?
Give us one.
Yeah.
No, I want to keep it fresh.
I think I'm going to
It doesn't have to be tidy either.
Yeah, I know. So I'm going to say, let me talk about reflective then. I felt very reflective in the last week, and that's made me feel positive about myself. So I was telling you guys just before we came on air that I've been asked to do a few talks this week and really mix things up with my working week. And that's got me reflecting on, actually, as much as routine is your friend, sometimes it can be an enemy for you. And mixing it up this week has really made me feel reflective on my life, thinking, I really enjoyed this week. How grateful I am that I've been able to have that little bit of variety in my life. If you'd asked me, what about 3 months ago when I was preparing for this presentation that I did yesterday, watching my daughter fall asleep and thinking, is she feeling loved? Does she know who I am? Does she know I'm her dad? All these questions, I'd have probably said quite upset. And here I am 3 months later, so grateful, and can't wait to see her after school today. So that's
life's a bit like that, isn't it?
Absolutely. So that's an untidy answer, reflective, if that's a word that we can use for emotion and feelings. Probably
it's perfect. That's nice.
That's good. So your third one was 10% of life is what happens to you. 90% is how you deal with it or react.
Yeah. So another way of looking at this is, it's not the adversity itself. It's not the event itself that defines your life. It's the way that you then approach it. I think that's another way of looking at this. It's not that traumatic experience. It's not the loss or the grief or the death of someone close to you, or the diagnosis of cancer or whatever it might be. The biggest problems, what are perceived to be the smallest problems. Everyone's problems are big to them, right? So it's this mindset again that, look, these events are going to happen. 10% of life is events, trauma. It's a snapshot in time. But actually the 90% that you also have that's not that 10% is you dealing with it. And I don't want to talk too much about mindset here and how you approach that, but that was it. That was it for me. It comes back to resilience, and these events happen, but then the rest of your time is dealing with it and trying to overcome it and just trying to remember that.
What's your perspective on I guess, I mean, I see it a lot, is this kind of victim mentality that young people and even older people have, and they kind of, you know, have a traumatic event that may happen to them, and they just play into that story for a long time, and they don't, you know, take charge and take responsibility, and they let that trauma control them. I'm sure you may see that.
Absolutely. I think you talk about owning it. I listened to a great talk yesterday by someone called Amy McDonald, who deals around emotional intelligence, and she talked about, I'm not going to swear, but owning your... I will swear.
You can swear. Come on. It's okay. Do you want to hold my hand?
I got to be careful. I'm a Brit, but I'm not like you Aussies. No. Just get it out there. So yeah, own your shit. And I thought, what a great way of putting it. Yeah, I've throughout my life, I've had lots of people who've told me and given me advice and acted as mentors and been there and advised and said, you should do this and you need to go and be mindful. Go and do this. This will help. Actually, the only person, and this is the reality, the only person that can do anything about it is yourself. And I think that was her emphasis yesterday at this talk. So, victim mentality is maybe it sounds like a harsh way of putting it, but I've realized that the only person that can change things and do things is yourself. Lots of people around you can guide you and help you, but it's that realization that you are the one who makes that choice to get up out of bed in the morning and to...
You go.
And I think that may integrate closely with recovery around mental illness, is owning that mental illness and not letting it be who you are as a person, but working alongside that illness, whether it's anxiety, schizophrenia, depression, not letting that be the label of who you are.
Yeah, I think that's...
But understanding it and working with it.
Yeah.
So I think this is an interesting topic, because it's like there might be, say, for example, a critical incident or a diagnosis, and then what you're saying, you know, the 10% of what happens to you, what is it? 10% of life is what happens to you, 90% is the react. I think the decision to get to that is like stage 3. I think stage 2 is a point where you're either you're still recovering, you're in shock, you're not able to think, you're not able to comprehend. There's a grief, there's grieving, there's loss, and there's like this stage, it's like this intermittent stage before you can get to the
reacting bit or the doing bit.
There's nothing that's going to happen. I'm stuck. If I stay here, I'm going to be on a pension or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you realize, boom, I have to own this. I have to absorb this. I have to build it into my life.
Yeah.
There's a critical point as well, isn't there,
like
in that middle?
And I guess you've got to go through that critical point. That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Stage 1, the event.
It's the acceptance.
Stage 2 for some may be a couple of days. Stage 2 for others might be weeks, months, or years.
Yeah.
But that's where I think it's so important that guys like yourselves and 20 Talk come in and start that process of guiding and saying, look, this is okay, this is how you're feeling. But it's that stage 3 that, in the harshest possible way, that's the owning it bit. That's the doing bit and the reacting bit, right?
That's incredibly hopeful, that statement, I think. Like 10% of what happens to you. I think that is incredibly hopeful, because all of us have had some level of trauma or some level of loss or whatever.
You haven't had trauma?
No.
What are you talking about?
But to know that you have the capacity to decide, once you accept this is who I am and a part of my journey, that it doesn't have to limit you. I think is incredibly hopeful.
It gives us the perspective that we are in the driving seat in the world.
Yeah.
We have control in how we react to that situation on the road. We can actually turn that negative situation into a positive if we own it, if we integrate it.
Which is what you've done in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe even turn that situation into a more positive situation than it could have been.
Yeah, your greatest pains are your greatest strengths later in life. I've heard that saying, you know, and for me, absolutely. God, I'm so grateful that I was able to turn that pain in its nicest possible sense when you become a father at 18 or when you get a daughter with special needs. Yeah, they are pains, but they've become my greatest strengths. That's what people tell me, and I of course they are. I love my kids, and look where life has taken me. I'm so grateful for that. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yes,
that is very hopeful that you're and it's a pressure for 90% of your life. Your life's about trying to react and deal with something. That's another way of looking at it, which is hard.
That's actually a tough.
So if we go back to your 20s, you're in your early 20s, is there anything you would have done differently in terms of your mindset?
Good question.
Very good question. I would have been less anxious about what the future would hold, but hey, that's easy to say that now, right?
Just be less anxious.
Yeah, just be less anxious. Just say it, and yeah, it'll happen. Clearly.
Did you have people around you that were sort of like, "Hang on, man, hang
Absolutely.
on"?
Yeah. So I had mentors in university. The football club were great. There's individuals there that really supported me and made sure that look, he came out to visit me.
Did you hear
home,
them?
Actually.
Do you think you heard them?
Maybe at the time. I talk about during these times, my thoughts were purely negative. I couldn't see a positive thought in any of these situations at the time. So maybe at that time, no, I didn't hear them. I didn't think, wow, you've really helped there. But clearly they did. I can see that now. So be less anxious about what the future held. And I think maybe... and it's taken me till 35 to realize this, but to maybe be a bit more selfish in my health and mental health. Think about me more. Unfortunately, at 18, when this child enters your life, I suddenly thought, well, it's not about me anymore. This is about somebody else, and I neglected myself. So the mindset of, I wish I could go back to my 20s and look after myself a bit more.
That's good. That's good.
That would probably be my mindset.
Well, that's I think it's really good, particularly for young people who are listening. Many of us have gone through interesting times, and they might be now, and maybe they've got people in their life trying to, encourage them along. Maybe it's worthwhile to listen to them and draw from their strength as well.
Yeah.
But thanks so much for coming in today to hear a bit about your story. Yeah. I mean, what you're doing in your life, and we're going to be punching a little bit more into that a bit later. But I think it's very inspirational, and I think it would really help you to sit with people well because of what you've gone through yourself.
Yeah, I'd like to think that.
Yeah,
I'd like to think I'm approachable, empathetic, sympathetic. I don't claim to experience what someone else is experiencing at that time, but I'd like to think I've got my own experiences, and I'd like to think I'm a decent guy that will listen.
Thank you. Well, thanks for coming in, and don't forget to subscribe and like. Thank you.
Thank you.